Welcome back. I am your host, Jessie Towns, and welcome back to the Keeping Shit Real podcast, talking all things about neurodivergent children and some of the struggles, the absolute chaos that we go through as parents to neurodivergent children. Can you believe this is episode 6? I keep on saying it, but I just thoroughly enjoy talking to myself in my dining room, but also hoping to spread a bit of love, a bit of relatable content, conversations that as parents of neurodivergent kids that we struggle with day in and day out. Sometimes, people don't fully understand the struggles and the absolute carnage that we can be in. This week, I really wanted to talk about sleep, or should I say the lack of sleep. I don't know about anybody else, but how do your kids sleep? How well do they sleep? Do they sleep at all? For us, we have gone through some real highs and lows with sleep cycles. Historically, our twins, for those of you that don't know, I have got 3 sons. I've got a 16-year-old neurotypical son, and I've also got 8-year-old twin boys. The eldest twin has ADHD. My youngest twin has ADHD also, but he is also high-functioning autistic, and he has a PDA profile. Now, they did initially sleep well, actually, up until probably, for our PDA, he slept well until the demand started to increase in nursery, and then we started to see quite crazy and frantic sleep patterns. And you ride the wave, don't you? And I think you don't realise how tired you are until you have one decent night of sleep and you're like an absolutely new person, and you fall into this false sense of security and you think, oh, I've nailed it tonight. And then bang, no, you haven't nailed it. It just falls off the radar and goes mental again. But for us, our PDA sleep was quite all over the shop from when the anxiety started to ramp up at nursery, and then it was literally off the chart when he started mainstream school. For those of you that don't know, he attended mainstream school full time when he started in reception for about 8 weeks, and then roughly for about 2 years afterwards while he was home educated whilst attending mainstream school for 3 hours a week in the end. Here, the sleep cycles and the sleep patterns got absolutely out of control. I think the anxiety was keeping him awake. He couldn't fall to sleep. And I think that is one of the hardest things when you've got neurodivergent children, is the fact that the one thing that we all look forward to as parents is a bit of peace and quiet in the evenings. And whether or not your child sleeps all night but takes hours to fall asleep, this is the cycle that we were ended up in. And it's really, really difficult when you have a child who's neurodivergent and you've had a really shit day. There's been meltdown after meltdown. You're exhausted. You're tired. You've not slept properly for months, weeks, if not years. And all you want them to do is just to go to sleep. And bedtime takes 2 to 3 hours. It's such a wild concept that all you want to do some nights is just sit down and watch a bit of shit TV on Netflix or Bravo, whatever your outlet is for chilling out. Or you just want to go to bed yourself because you're so exhausted. And then you're having to lay in the bedroom with them, lay on their bed, hold them a certain way. You're having to lay on the bedroom floor. I have spent many a nights laying on my kids' bedroom floors with audiobooks, reading books, trying to creep out of there like an absolute ninja so you don't wake anybody up. And we've got really squeaky floorboards in our house. So we've learned now of where the floorboards are that are really loud so we can kind of completely avoid standing on them. But I wanted to say, you're not alone in this, and it is really difficult when they won't sleep or bedtime takes hours. And I know that accumulative loss of sleep is exhausting. It really affects your relationship, maybe your partner. It affects your relationships with your other children. You become more snappy. And trying to pan out a decent sleep cycle is difficult with neurodivergent kids. We have had we've tried melatonin. I mean, melatonin, for us personally, we find that melatonin is great for getting them to sleep. If you've had a day where you just think, oh, fuck this, I can't be arsed with this anymore. Like, I am exhausted. My mental capacity bucket is overflowing. I just need to sit down, eat some chocolate and watch some crap on Netflix. And melatonin allows a child, it's a hormone. So basically it resets your circadian rhythm. So everybody's got a circadian rhythm, which, naturally you would generally fall asleep between, you've got what's called your window of circadian low, your WOCL. And this is every single human. And basically your window of circadian low when you're most exhausted and will likely fall asleep is between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m., which is not very helpful if you've got other kids and you've had a tiring day. But with melatonin, it resets that circadian rhythm. But we find with melatonin, it's fabulous if you've had a really bad day and you just need them to go to sleep very, very quickly. It knocks both of the kids out in about 15 to 20 minutes. However, what the pattern that we started to use, and we didn't use it a lot, only on the days when Maxie wasn't at school and he was really anxious, we ended up with him sort of waking up. It would take 2 to 3 hours for him to go to bed. And then what we would find is that he would then continually wake up through the night, really anxious. And it would start from we always try and put the kids to bed anywhere between 7:15 and 8 o'clock, depending on, how active they've been, how active they've not been, if they've watched a lot of TV, just anything that is an extra thing to then think about. But take them to bed at 8 o'clock. Sometimes, we don't come down, wouldn't come downstairs until like 10, 10:30. And then from about 1 o'clock in the morning, the continual waking up. Melatonin, we found once they were asleep, they were absolutely so conked out from it that actually what happens then is that it doesn't keep them asleep. For us anyway, I know some parents have really successful stories on melatonin and their children stay asleep. But for us, it just doesn't work. It's great if we're exhausted, like I said, and we can, we need a bit of a quick fix and we need a bit of a break ourselves. And we, spent so many months, years, like not being able to work to our contractual agreement, should I say, because we were homeschooling, that sometimes we have to do work in the evening. I obviously run a community for parents that have got children with PDA, and I do quite a lot of work till quite late in the evening, sometimes 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And some days I just needed to come downstairs and work, and it became very difficult. And melatonin, we found also, and I don't know about you guys and girls, and whether this is just maybe my children, but we find it just doesn't keep them, if it doesn't keep them asleep, it puts my child with PDA in quite possibly the foulest mood ever the next day. I can absolutely tell when he has had it. So for us, we really cut right back on it, because my husband and I sort of decided that we felt that it was probably, it's like weighing up the cost and benefit of everything, isn't it? Yeah, it might take 2 to 3 hours to get him to put his head down and actually get to sleep. But when he's asleep without melatonin, he's absolutely asleep all night and is in a much better mood the next day. Or do we want a bit of an easier life in the shortcoming, i.e. he's asleep within 20 minutes and then all hell breaks loose the next day? Now, his twin brother doesn't have ASD, doesn't have ASD, and doesn't have a PDA profile. Melatonin gets him to sleep, but it does absolutely nothing for keeping him asleep. The boys are now 8 years old. Our PDA, now that he is in the right education setting, his sleep is so much better. He doesn't wake up through the night. He occasionally will. I say that, he actually woke up last night at 2 o'clock in the morning and wanted an audiobook on at 3 a.m, which reluctantly, there was no reluctance. It was like, again, picking your battles wisely. What do I do here? We put an audiobook on. But our ADHD is just, his brain is just alive at night time. And he can fall asleep very quickly. We have just started. Actually, no, I'll talk about the supplements that we're given now. Our ADHD falls asleep very quickly. Well, I say very quickly, within an hour of going to bed. And he has started in the last 18 months. I'd say it's probably nearly 18 months now. He wakes up anywhere between 10:30 p.m. and 4 o'clock in the morning, and he has to co-sleep with me or my husband. So basically, we were trying to put him back to bed, doing all that sort of stuff, as you would do like normal sleep training, which we've done with our neurotypical son, but it just doesn't work. And we've actually worked out in the last sort of 6 months that we've just got to embrace it, that when he comes crashing in, as long as he doesn't wake his twin brother up, because that's then a double-sided sword, that it's like a lesser two evils. What do? Do we take him back to bed every night? Do we keep on doing it? Because, this shit was going on for, I had 6 days off work, off my corporate job. And I thought, I'm just going to try and re-sleep train him. So when he started waking up, I'd take him back to bed. I'd hardly minimal talk. I'd give him a cuddle. I'd put him back to bed. I'd lay with him. I'd let him get back to sleep. I'd then creep out, avoiding them squeaky floorboards. 10 minutes later, bam, he's back in the room. So I'd do it all again. And it was going on till 3, 4 in the morning. And then what I started to notice was he then was cottoning on that I was taking him back to bed and then I was leaving him. So he had, really bad anxiety that he was being left asleep. And his little brain, bless him, my kids, I'm quite strict in terms of age appropriate shit that they watch on the TV, but also the games that they play on their iPads. And for anybody that has followed my story, we have massively reduced the amount of screen time that they have on their iPads. They're allowed to watch unlimited TV, but the pattern of behaviour from screens and what they were actually watching and playing, it was probably more capped at 9+. But we were noticing it was causing a lot of dysregulation. So we've cut right back on what they can watch and also how often they can play. We don't mind them playing low stimulus games like Toca Boca World, Minecraft, because they don't seem to activate chaotic behaviour. But some games, they're really edited very, very quickly. Their frames are change every 3 to 11 seconds. They're very loud. The colours are, and it's an overstimulation thing. And we noticed for probably a couple of weeks that we actually had quite an improved sort of sleep cycle. And my PDA was kept to that. However, our ADHD absolutely hasn't. And I think we just thought, there's nothing wrong with one of our kids sleeping in our bed with us. It could be worse. It could be both of them. And we've got 4 kids in a bed with us. And, my PDA is pretty big. He's pretty tall. He's a bit of a unit. And we just really wanted to make sure that as parents, when you don't have quality sleep yourself, it's easier to manage when a child doesn't have quality sleep because they can have earlier nights. But for us as parents, we've gone back to pretty much our jobs full time again now that our PDA is in school. So for us, and it's just it really was making us sort of not hate on each other, but my husband is 6'6". And he was having to squeeze into, when we were moving bed, we were playing musical beds. I'm sure you've all been here playing musical beds. I mean, it's insane, isn't it? He's 6'6" and he was fitting into a single bunk bed. And I made the decision at the start of this year. I said to my husband, right, we've got to sort this shit out. If we're going to be playing musical beds every night, whoever is the person moving into one of into the twins' bed, my PDA sleeps in the top bunk. That is ultimately he loves being on the top bunk. He thinks he's in control. So, and his twin brother absolutely loves being on the bottom bunk. So I made the decision to buy a triple bunk bed. And I tell you what, it's absolutely changed our life in terms of my husband and I, if we end up playing musical beds, we actually end up with quality sleep because it is so goddamn comfortable. Now, I got it from Wayfair. Is it Wayfair or Wayfarer? Mate, I mean, if you've never been on it, mate, it's a mental online shop. It's like a giant Argos, but online, and it's really cheap. And we bought a triple bunk bed. So the top bunk is obviously a single and underneath is a double. So we were all it's all kind of open. It's got amazing shelves. And we bought a new, really nice mattress because we thought, you know what? Let's pick our battles here. If we're going to be playing musical beds, we need to be comfortable. So we bought new bed linen, we bought new pillows. I bought the boys new feather duvets for winter and for summer. And it is an absolute game changer. I don't know, because I've got ADHD. I've always loved being on the bottom bunk. My grandparents used to have a bottom bunk beds when I was little, and me and my cousins used to stay there in the summer. And I love being on the bottom bunk. I feel like you're totally enclosed. I feel like I'm in a little den, and I absolutely love it. So when he comes crashing in, we kind of don't care anymore, because actually taking him back to bed continuously is exhausting. And then when you don't have quality sleep, it affects everybody. It has that ripple effect, doesn't it? Nobody is in a good mood. Everybody's short-tempered. There's tears, and that's just from my husband. And, it aggravates the situation. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh, my kids are in bunk beds, can I just tell you, getting a triple bunk bed is a game changer. Sometimes we do have occasional nights where they both sleep through. We had one actually I think it was last week or the week before. And my husband and I woke up at like 6:30 and we were like, oh my God, has something happened to them? Like when your baby first sleeps through the night and you think, fucking hell, have they died? But that's what we felt. And then all of a sudden we heard like, boom, 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 they're out of bed. And he slept through. So we were like amazed, but it's not a regular thing by any means. But yeah, triple bunk beds. So if we want to sleep in bed with him in his own bed, is a real benefit, because we are not sort of hanging off a single bed, which is what we were doing as well. So yeah, triple bunk beds, absolute game changer. Not going to lie, absolutely love it. But then those nights sometimes when we can't be bothered, we've got a super king size, my husband and I. So being in a double bed with our ADHD who's all over the shop. I mean, even when he's asleep, he's wriggling about, chatting to himself. So what will generally happen is my husband will move bedrooms, or I'll move bedrooms, and I'll go and get into the triple bunk bed. But yeah, we love it. It's great. So if you're thinking, oh my God, how can I break this? Sometimes you can't break it. Sometimes children need us to regulate them. If you think about bedtime, it can be a really scary time for a child. And I can remember staying at one of my grandparents when I was very young, and I absolutely hated the bedroom. It used to terrify me. And I'm 45 and I can still remember it. And I don't want my children to be terrified of going to bed, because as we know, sleep is so important for children, but I don't want it to affect his sleeping later in life. We've just got to the realization now that actually he will stay in his own bed when he's ready to. They're 8, probably looking at like another 3 years, maybe tops, of it being like that. But going back to the supplements, so this is like a topic that is in my PDA parent community. This is a hot topic for us. We have tried every single goddamn supplement, melatonin, magnesium for our kids. And quite recently, I'd say in the last 2 months, the lovely Carmel, who is in our community, she lives in Australia, she lives in Tasmania, and she found this company called The Glow Company. And they have, you might have seen them, like these little handheld things for calming children, but they also do these sleep gummies they're just called sleep gummies. They're by Glowco. And they are high dosage of magnesium glycinate. Now, a lot of neurodivergent children and adults can also have low levels of magnesium, and every person needs it. It regulates the nervous system. And I've got to say, I'm really surprised that they're actually quite effective. For us, I think that they have really improved the quality of sleep that my child with PDA gets, but also our ADHD. He goes to sleep now probably within about 20 minutes to half an hour. We still lay in bed with them. One of us will lay on the bottom bunk of the double bed, and we have a light show, and we've got like LED lights pinned up against the side. So it's nice and calming. We listen to calming audiobooks off the Calm app. And yeah, he falls asleep within about half an hour. He obviously doesn't stay asleep, but that was again, it's that frantic, fraught getting to sleep bedtimes that will finish me off as a parent. And if you feel like that, it's absolutely fine to feel like that, because we're normal, we're tired, we carry a lot of hidden advocating, that hidden loads of work that not everybody, that nobody sees, the worry, the anxiety for us. So I highly recommend Glowco sleep gummies. What I will warn you is now they take a long time to arrive. They come from Australia, And they do take a long time to arrive. So just to give you a heads up, if you want a quick fix, you better order them now because they'll take about 3 weeks to get here. But they're not a ridiculously expensive price. I think they're £23 and you get a box of, is there 60 or 90? I can't remember. But they last us about a month. So yeah, and I've got 2. So they must have 60 in them. But yeah, we've had a really good result from them. And other things that I just think with sleep that are so important, if you have to hold your child to go to sleep, if you have to stroke their hair, just do it. Like, don't pay attention to social media, the people that tell us otherwise. Magnesium foot rub cream is great also, but also sometimes magnesium glycinate needs to be absorbed in your body in different ways. Like I said, I have tried a lot of different ways of magnesium, and we found that the best way was to just hit or miss. I reckon I've probably spent nearly 600 quid in magnesium. Some stuff works, some stuff doesn't. We accidentally bought the ones that had been laced with melatonin also, but we'd all thought we'd found this miracle magnesium supplement, but it turns out they had been laced with melatonin, so that was very short-lived. And that's another thing, isn't it? Fuckers, accidentally putting melatonin in kids' magnesium sleep gummies. I don't know if that was an accident or they just thought that nobody was gonna catch on. But you need to do whatever makes your life easier. If you have to get into bed with them, if you have to stay in there until they're asleep, if you have to move beds, I cannot tell you, if you've got the space, I cannot tell you just how much of a game changer getting this triple bunk bed's been. It's honestly great. It's fabulous. We're all getting much better sleep. Yeah, we might get woken up for the odd 2 minutes that it takes us to get up, move bedrooms and get into bed and then fall back to sleep. But actually, the continual having to take back to bed, try and get him to sleep. It was the benefits of a triple bunk bed was completely outshone the risks of it, And it isn't actually that much bigger, the bottom bunk. And I was quite surprised because we had to measure it. Well, I actually ordered it and my husband was like, what the fuck? You've ordered it? Have you measured it? And I was like, of course I haven't. I'm a female. We don't measure shit. I just literally took a big step and thought, oh yeah, that'll fit. So yeah, just make sure you fit it. But with Wayfair, is it Wayfair? But yeah, it is Wayfair. But I think I ordered it on the Sunday and it was here on the Wednesday. So, and all parts of it all arrived together. So, absolute game changer for us in our house. And sleep, maybe try milk before bedtimes, and maybe a gin and tonic for yourself, or a large glass of wine or a beer, just to sort of chill yourself out. But sleep. I mean, who would have thought sleep would have been such a prominent conversation? And it is. I get really envious when people at work go, I had to wake Charlie up this morning. He'd had 12 hours sleep and I had to wake him up. I was going to be late to school. I was thinking, fucking hell, not on my watch. But anyway, listen, I hope you've enjoyed this week's podcast. Things all sleepy, not sleepy. As always, please download, subscribe, rate and review the show on whatever platform you're listening to. It really makes a massive difference to how it moves up the popularity charts. If you are a parent to a child with PDA and you feel like there's no hope, you're stressed, you're lost, and you're like, I am all alone, you're not. Come and join the PDA Parent Circle. The link to it is in my show notes. And I can't wait to see you all next week. Take care. Bye-bye.